Hello and welcome. It is Mental Health Awareness Week here in the UK. My name is Andy Salkeld and I have been a long advocate of positive mental health and looking after oneself. And I've kind of been quiet on social media and just out in the world in general. I have been alone. And in this year's Mental Health Awareness Week, the key concept is about loneliness. And one of the things I've come to realize is that loneliness isn't about the absence or presence of people, it is about connection and feeling resonance of your personality within others. And the reason I wanted to take some time now to actually come back and share my experiences, share my thoughts, and hopefully support other people is because I'm about to embark on what is going to be quite a lonely and potentially isolating journey of discovery and so on. And I'm excited about it, even though it is quite nerve-wracking and the thought of what it could do to me is scary. But it's important to me because it can have an impact beyond just my life. And I published or put on my website a bit of a blog post earlier this week explaining what I'm doing. And I'm about to start a PhD. I'm going through my confirmation of registration next week, where I'm going to talk about it. And what I wanted to do is just share very quickly some of the examples that I'm going to be giving in that. So, how many people in your work or in your experience, when decisions made, when someone leaves your team at work, has a decision ever been made to not replace them and to instead share the workload amongst the remaining people? That's happened to me many times. I've seen it happen to other teams many times. And what's going on in that circumstance is it's the decision to not recruit is often financially motivated. Whether the business can afford someone, whether the business needs to afford someone, etc. It's often financially motivated. But the consequences for the people remaining are often increased pressure within the team, as there is now more work to do in the same amount of time. There is a potential increase in stress or burnout or anything like that. And that is about how finance is shaping the individual psychology of team members. And then we look at it again. How about when you put in a capital request or an expenses request or something like that? Have you ever had finance question you? Have you ever had finance ask, what's this for? What's the purpose? Or require you to do an investment appraisal or anything like that? And what happens if that leads to you potentially being out of pocket for slightly longer in the case of expenses, or not receiving something that could benefit yourself, your career, your job, your team, anything like that? And again, it's a financial decision or a financially motivated decision that's impacting the individual psychology, well-being, burnout, stress, job satisfaction, job insecurity in the case of having expenses paid, everything like that. So finance is shaping our individual psychology. And then similarly, on a bigger scale, what about when a company that you're involved in receives investment from an external source? And often in these cases, there is potentially a leadership change, potentially a culture change, potentially a focus of like where management attention is focused. In the case of some investments, it requires more reporting, and more reporting, financial reporting, month-end analytics, everything like that, as those increase, people's time and commitment to their day-to-day roles, for those not in finance, is pressured, and therefore stress, burnout, and everything that follows. So what I'm wanting to investigate is how finance, or as I'm calling it, organizational finance, shapes the individual psychology of the people within the organization. And this is quite a big topic, and it has not been researched en masse in the way I'm looking at it before. So a lot of research, well, not even a lot. I found 2 published papers on shock finance. So these are things like mergers and acquisitions, private equity buyouts, etc., and how that affects individual members within the organization. What I'm wanting to look at is the more passive finance, non-shock. So how just the day-to-day operation of your finance team affects the other people in the business. And what I'll be looking to do over the next few years as I'm undertaking this project is looking for finance directors or other accountants, people that are involved in finance teams, to help provide information, to support, maybe to be involved in developing the tools and measures that I'm wanting to develop and create, but also for participants to be able to see, to have their insight on what's going on, to be able to say, well, this is how I am experiencing and perceiving my work environment, how I see finance, and how I am actually experiencing my job, my world, and see what correlations exist, see how things are brought together, and how these 2 very, very disparate and very different parts of our organizational lives interact. So that's kind of what I'm going to be doing for the next few years. And I just wanted to share that because it's important for me, but it's also important for everyone out there, because burnout, stress, everything like that is at an all-time high. Very many surveys and studies that have taken place throughout the COVID-19 pandemic and now are reporting that people are experiencing higher levels of burnout than they did pre-pandemic, and that they are struggling more than they ever have before. So this matters for individuals. Individuals are experiencing these symptoms, and burnout as a syndrome has only just been kind of added to the list of disease or non-communicable diseases. So this is happening. This is what people are experiencing. And finance shapes this. Finance touches all parts of organizations. It's impossible really to detach it from everything that's going on. It affects how we spend our time, it affects how we spend our money, and it is involved in almost all decisions from the very top to the very bottom. But the bit that's important for organizations is all these individual psychological outcomes, as I'm referring to them, lead back into profit and loss, profitability, effectiveness, productivity. And this has been proven elsewhere within other studies. And what I'm wanting to do is to say, well, how is finance adding to this? As a financier myself, I want to know how the teams I work with, my former colleagues who are still accountants and working in those areas, to the advisors that are supporting finance teams around the globe, how can they help shape the outcomes and the lives of the people involved? How can they do more than just finance? And this is going to be a lonely journey. I may well end up as the only person in the world looking at this. It will be very much my thought, my heart, my soul put into it, and I may well be the expert on this going forward. But I believe it's a way that I can add more back beyond just what I do as an individual and helping individuals change their lives. This is a way I can do more beyond just what I can do in one day, etc. So that's where I am. That's what's happening. If you're interested in this, if you're a finance director that would like to be involved and share your experiences, if you'd like to help me develop a measure of how to determine different types of finance director and their leadership, or different types of finance teams and how they operate. If you'd like to be involved in that, please feel free to get in contact. Similarly, if you'd like to have your organisation take part in what I'm developing, to get a snapshot of how your employees are perceiving what is going on in the business, what employees see about the leadership, the structure, the climate, and the culture of the organisation, as I'll be developing that as well. And there we go. That's kind of where we're at. And it's just important to share this in Mental Health Awareness Week so that you have awareness of how I am continuing to try and support the mental health of many people out there. If you'd like to get in touch, you can either get in touch via my email address, via LinkedIn, or via my website, and I will gladly speak to anyone at all who's interested. So please feel free to get in touch, and I look forward to speaking to you. Thank you.